Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda with an important alert from Ignition Time about the state of the unemployment benefits extension in our country. I think when President Trump woke up this morning, he had either been watching many episodes of Game of Thrones or he was listening to the song Sabotage by Beastie Boys, which by the way is one of my favorite songs. Some of the lyrics from those songs are actually relevant to this situation. I'll talk about that towards the end of this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about two things. Number one, the current state of negotiations, exactly where the White House stands in terms of their negotiations with the Democrats, and they are actually bypassing the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and essentially stepping over his requirement for the liability shield protection according to brand new reporting from the Washington Post. You definitely want to check out that Washington Post article. I'll link to it in the description below, and Jeff Stein's Twitter feed. And also I'll talk to you about something rather unusual. In fact, I'll tell you about that first. The Senate has actually adjourned for 93 hours. They've gone, they're just gone, and they adjourned without sorting out the problem of unemployment benefits extension. In this breaking news alert, I'll tell you about exactly what's going on and what this means to you. Let's jump right into it. Now, as you probably know, I reported this yesterday, a last-ditch effort by the GOP to extend the $600 a week booster by 1 week was blocked by Chuck Schumer because he dismissed it as a stunt. So what ended up happening is the Senate actually adjourned. As I record this, I can confirm that the Senate decided to adjourn for 93 hours instead of staying in town as the unemployment benefits expire for millions of individuals. Now, if you're following my channel, I told you that last night, President Trump's lead negotiators, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows were meeting at 8 p.m. East Coast time with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and President Trump apparently had something up his sleeve. He was specifically asked, what are you going to be putting on the table tonight in order to ensure enhanced UI benefits don't expire tomorrow? And he said, and I quote, "It's a great question. I can't tell you though, because that wouldn't be very smart from a negotiating standpoint." Well, it looks like we know what happened at that time. According to a brand new report from the Washington Post, the headline reads, "White House willing to cut a stimulus deal without liability shield, breaking with McConnell." The article says the Senate Majority Leader had said this week that there would be no deal with Democrats without legal protections for employers against pandemic claims. In fact, for Senator Mitch McConnell, that was a red line. Apparently, the White House is willing to deal. So it seems like President Trump told his lead negotiators to tell the Democrats, hey, let's deal. We are willing to back off from the liability protection aspect of our demands. And that's exactly what's going on. Again, full credit to this reporting goes to Jeff Stein and Erica Werner over at the Washington Post. I definitely think you should check out Jeff Stein's Twitter feed. So the article says the White House is willing to cut a deal with Democrats that leaves out Senate Republican legislation aimed at protecting employers, schools, and hospitals from pandemic-related lawsuits, according to two people with knowledge of internal White House planning. Remember, this was very important. In fact, this was non-negotiable as far as the Senate Majority Leader is concerned. And now, presumably, the president has indicated that, we are willing to drop that demand and let's cut a deal. If you'll also remember what I reported earlier, the president specifically said he wanted a deal on unemployment benefits extension as well as on the extension of the eviction moratorium. And he had said that on the rest of the matters, on other matters, we are so far apart, we don't care, we really don't care. So now you have essentially some flexibility in the position of the administration when dealing with the Democrats in order to get something done. One side is moving closer to the other. I've mentioned this before in other videos. In any negotiation, one side starts all the way on one end and the other side starts on the other end. And then there is what I call a zone of compromise. We are, as I record this, entering that zone of compromise and getting closer to a potential deal. In fact, one of the people familiar with the administration's thinking said the measure, and I'm referring to the liability protection measure, which again was a hard line for the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, was considered important but not absolutely essential. Again, all of this conflicts with the ultimatum that McConnell had given Democrats that any congressional stimulus package, specifically the HEALS Act, the legislation was intended to make it harder for workers and customers to sue employers and businesses and schools for damages related to the pandemic. And in fact, Mitch McConnell specifically said, we are not negotiating over liability protection. I quote, We are not negotiating with Democrats about that. Now, keep in mind that Democrats in Congress had strongly objected to granting such significant legal protections, what they called it, and they said that it would give businesses and employers and schools wide latitude to endanger their workers without fear of repercussion. But now it clearly seems like White House administration officials are less attached to this issue, and they see the shield as something that the administration can live without in the next stimulus package, according to two people who, as usual, spoke on the condition of anonymity. Now, what's interesting is less than 24 hours ago, the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows told reporters, that is on Thursday, that the liability shield, I quote, remains a red line for the leader in my discussions with him earlier today. So he's talking about his conversations with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Meadows also added, certainly Secretary Mnuchin and I see that as part of a broader package, but he did say that the White House supports a temporary extension in unemployment benefits without the liability protections. Now, let's be clear, any deal that's made between the White House and Democrats in Congress that does not include the liability shield is very unlikely to have the support of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who for months has said that that's his number one priority. In fact, the White House has specifically said that it considers liability protection a top priority, but the tide is turning, the winds are shifting. This is what Meadows said recently to ABC News. He said, if we can do that along with liability protection, perhaps we can put that forward, get that passed, as we can negotiate the rest of the bill in the weeks to come. Now, Steven Mnuchin also said earlier this month, the president's committed to do what we need to do in the next bill to protect kids, to protect jobs, and to protect liability. And a White House spokesperson did reconfirm that the liability shield remains a top priority and declined to comment on the state of negotiations. Now, keep in mind, there's been a lot of tension between the White House and the Republicans all throughout this process. The White House, specifically President Trump, wanted the payroll tax cut. The Republicans weren't really interested. The president wants money, $1.8 billion with a B, allocated towards the FBI building. The Senate Majority Leader and many other Republicans do not consider that important. So there has been some friction, some disagreement between the administration and the Republican Party from the beginning. In fact, the Republican Party internally has been divided about various aspects of the HEALS Act, and it looks like the Democrats sensed this, they detected this, and they are on the verge of striking a deal directly with the administration as I record this. Now, let me quickly give you both sides of the liability protection shield aspect, the Republican aspect and the business aspect, as well as the workers group aspect and the Democrats aspect. The liability shield, which was co-written by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senator John Cornyn from Texas, would only allow workers and consumers to sue employers, schools, businesses for damages if they could prove that the other party was grossly negligent in actions that led them to getting the illness. On top of that requirement, the legislation provides immunity from legal claims if the employer makes, I quote, reasonable efforts to comply with government guidelines such as recommendations by the CDC on safe reopening and other parameters. Now, some worker advocacy groups have criticized these rules as being too lax, saying that they could be met without actually enforcing safety guidelines. Now, this proposal was intended to deter lawsuits related to the pandemic. Now, McConnell has stressed that the shield would not only apply to private businesses, but also to schools, universities, hospitals, nonprofit organizations, and similar establishments. The American Council on Education, which is a higher education lobbying group, has written to lawmakers in support of McConnell's legislation, as have other education groups. Now, on the other hand, workers groups and Democrats have said that the liability shield will have devastating consequences for employees who are already facing unsafe conditions in workplaces across the country. They said that Trump's Labor Department has cited a handful of employers for workplace safety violations during the pandemic. Despite thousands of complaints, only a few employers were actually written up. In fact, Hugh Barron, a staff attorney at the National Employment Law Project, said the standard for employer wrongdoing set forward in the GOP proposal is so high that a worker could never expect to meet it. Barron went on to say, essentially you get complete blanket immunity as a matter of law, even if you do nothing at all to protect your workers. It puts us all at a risk for infection. So there you have it, everybody. That was the breaking news alert. The White House inching closer and closer to a deal with congressional Democrats while sidestepping the red line that was set by the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. The way this works is if the administration strikes a deal with congressional Democrats, they can essentially sidestep the Senate Majority Leader, and as long as they have enough support with enough senators, this has the potential of actually happening. This whole situation reminds me of Game of Thrones. By the way, I haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, so don't hate me. My wife and I just haven't had the time to get into it. I've been busy watching Succession on HBO, and I've been busy watching Billions on Showtime, two of my all-time favorite shows. So if you think I should get into Game of Thrones, please type that out in the comment section below, because I know I'm missing out and I know I need to get into it. But this whole situation reminds me of Game of Thrones, where everyone essentially backstabs each other, everyone essentially sabotages each other. And speaking of sabotage, this whole situation reminds me of the song Sabotage by Beastie Boys, and I'm going to give you some of the lyrics of that Beastie Boys song, and I want you to see how that actually reflects in this situation. I can't stand it. I know you planned it. I'ma set it straight, this Watergate. I can't stand rocking when I'm in here. Now, clearly, I'm not good at lyrics. I'm definitely not good at any kind of singing, so forgive me. I'ma set it straight, this Watergate. I can't stand rocking when I'm in here, cause your crystal ball ain't so crystal clear. So while you sit back and wonder why I got this bleeping thorn in my side, oh my God, it's a mirage. I'm telling you all, it's sabotage. So listen up, cause you can't say nothing. You'll shut me down with the push of your button, but yo, I'm out and I'm gone. I'll tell you now, I keep it on and on. I think that's what President Trump was listening to when he woke up this morning or in the White House last night. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something new, please click the like button below. Please enable notifications and please subscribe so you get important alerts from Ignition Time. These are important alerts that have the potential to change millions of lives, and that is what I'm going to do with my channel. If you want to get breaking news and alerts, please get your cell phone out and send us a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000. That's 70000, and you'll get instant alerts from us about breaking news going forward. We'll also send you emails as long as you agree to a quick disclaimer, and you can opt out at any time. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week, so make sure you're subscribed to our channel. And we cover not just breaking news and alerts, but also important information on personal finance, on wealth management, on saving, on investing, because that is the aspiration I have for every single one of my subscribers when the dust finally settles on all of this madness, on all of this Game of Thrones type backstabbing, on all of these mirages, and on all of this sabotage. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode of Ignition Time.